All right. Hello. Welcome to the Broadview Public Library's February Black History Month book banter. Hi. We have here Tisha from Broadview Public Library, one of the librarians.
Yvonne.
Miss Yvonne.
Andrea.
And Miss Andrea. We are all back, your bantering librarians. So it is Black History Month. It is the last day of Black History Month. And we are doing this book, The Rib King, by Ladee Hubbard. I think that's how you pronounce her name. All right, so let's get into it. Who wants to give a summary of this book?
Not me, because I didn't understand it anyway. So somebody else try it.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna give the summary of the book. I actually like the book. So The Rib King, this might not be the best summary, but from what I understood of the book is about, it takes place, what I say, the 19...
Is it 20s? Or
yeah, the early 1920s. And it talks about a family, the Barclays. They're a white family. They have Black servants that come from this, I don't want to call it an orphanage, but
they said asylum.
an asylum,
No,
some
nobody
kind of
even called it that.
asylum.
I thought it was that a crazy house. I wasn't sure what that meant.
An asylum. It takes place in Washington, D.C. I do remember that. And these boys, they recruit these boys from this asylum, like 3 at a time. They come to this house. They work for them, for the Barclays, doing odds and ends in the kitchen, cooking, and work in the yard. There have been numerous boys that have come to their house over the years. So Mr. Sidwell is one of the people that work for the Barclays, and he's been working there for 20-something, a very long time. He's an adult at this point, but he came there as a boy. His name is Mr. Sidwell. He was the groundskeeper. Miss Mamie was a cook. Jenny was in the kitchen. Mr. Whitmore was a driver. Mr. Bardot used to have Mamie's job. So they all work in this house. They're all Black servants that work for the Barclays. And the Barclays like to keep it that way. They like to keep Black servants. They like to keep all their staff the same color, as they say. So one day, a gentleman comes by the name of Mr. Pound, right? He comes to Mr. Barclay. Mr. Barclay they're supposedly wealthy white people, right? But they're not that wealthy because, the house is starting to deteriorate and the staff is pretty much doing all they can to keep the house running for the Barclays. But the Barclays are not giving them money, like enough money to buy food and stuff. The staff is pretty much running the household while the Barclays just, be white people. I don't know how else to say that. Like, I'm not trying to say that to sound derogatory or offensive, but it is the 1920s and the Barclays expect the Black staff to keep everything running, to keep food on the table, even though they don't give them enough money, to go to the market or whatever to buy what they need. They expect them to keep, gas in the, they expect them to keep the house running and not give it a second thought. They need to do what they need to do so that everything runs smoothly in their own household, the Black servants, the Black staff. Mr. Pound comes in. Mr. Barclay is negotiating a deal with him. So once he negotiates this deal, he'll have more money. Supposedly he'll be back on his feet, him and his wife. Mr. Pound has gotten himself this idea to make these wafers, these breakfast wafers. And I still can't picture in my mind what those are. Is it a cereal?
No, the wafer that you put in a bowl with some milk and eat it.
Sounds like a granola, but like it's a cereal.
Put it in water. You put in some milk and eat it.
This sounds like cereal.
I thought it was like cream. What is it? Shredded wheat or something. I don't know.
Well, it was some on that page, but it was some kind of a bar.
Right,
but in milk,
that's why he said you're supposed to serve it, because it's a hard wafer.
Like
you're supposed to put it in the milk, I guess, to soften it up, and then you ate it.
Wait, what's a wafer? I thought wafers were soft and like.
Well, this was obviously hard because you put it in the milk.
Make it too
hard.
So I was confused about it. I couldn't picture what he
was
was talking
healthy.
about.
He said it was a healthy bar, like instead of eating, bacon and eggs or whatever. They're supposed to give you energy and vitality or whatever in the morning time.
So yeah, Mr. Pound you know, he markets this wafer bar, and Mr. Barclay is negotiating a deal with him for some kind of,
Well, some property. He needed a
property.
factory or something so he can
Right.
make these bars, and
And-
Mr. Barclay owns some property.
he
And
wants to
this
get rid of
deal
some
was gonna
property.
give him some money so he can keep the house running, because actually the Barclays wasn't all that bad. I mean, they did take these people in and give them jobs and all that, and the way they did that was with the money he had, his own money. And his business, I guess, wasn't going that good, so why he needed this.
Because he was
deal to go
gambling. They
through.
said he was gambling away his money. His
Right.
wife was buying furs and
Well, she-
dresses
Was spending me on her knees, yeah.
and all kind of stuff. So once they would get the
Yeah.
money, they would spend it in, you
Right,
know,
then whatever was left went to the
deplete.
house, and
right away,
the
right.
money was starting to dwindle away, and
They
with the business coming
priorities.
in, and yeah,
Their priorities was a little bit off.
yeah.
So Mr. Barclay was counting on this deal with Mr. Pound to get this money.
Right.
For his house. So, but things don't quite go as smoothly as he would like. In the meantime, Mr. Sitwell, who is the main character, one of the main characters in the book, found the boys, three boys, Bart, Frederick, and Mac.
Yeah. That was Mac.
I
Bart,
can't remember. 'Cause-
Yeah, Mac, it was his
Bart,
name,
Frederick,
Mac,
and Mac.
right?
Three new boys that have come from the asylum. They're
Right.
reading this book. I forgot the title of this book, or pamphlet, whatever it's called, book or pamphlet.
Look, Cherokee something.
Yeah, Cherokee
Yeah.
Red, something like that. And the book is about Seminole County, which happens to be where Mr. Sitwell is from.
Right.
He grew up there. And so he hears this book, he hears the characters in the book, and he's like, wait a minute, I know this
Sounds familiar to
story.
him, but he said, this don't,
Right.
the way they writing
Mhm.
it don't sound right.
That's not true, or this, you
Yeah.
know, this person.
But they made it like it was a white man, I think it was, and he said, no,
Right.
that was a black man.
So,
Sure.
so Sitwell, here's the story. He hires one of the guys at his boarding house to read this book to him, which that kind of just fell off.
Because he didn't know how to read, so he.
No,
wanted him to read
but
to
he
him.
wanted to read, the guy did, but the guy was like, oh, I'm almost done with your book. Every time he saw him, he was like, I'll be done with your book. You know, and such. But Sitwell, it seemed like she never went back to say what happened. Like, he never went back to ask the questions he wanted to ask. It kind of just fell off. Like, the boy was like, I read your book. And then Sitwell was like, oh, I don't care about it anymore. I was confused about that part. Like,
I think because he said it was wrong. He said, he kept asking him about
Yeah, but the-
Lottie, was it Lotta?
Yeah,
Lada's
but he
mom.
just his
said-
mother,
He said, there's
and
nobody
they
in
didn't
here
mention
named
her at
Lotta.
all in there.
He's like, well, you know, so he was mad because the story was wrong. He's like, he said they had it changed all around that he wasn't interested anymore
Right.
because that's not his story. This story is not the way it happened.
The man they were talking about, he said he knew that man, but he was
Right.
not a white man, he's a black man.
Right. I think it was an Indian or something, or a black man or something.
He was
He
a
was
black man.
black man, but he
Yeah.
was not, so he got mad. He's a lot of,
So
you
he
know,
was kind of like a, I don't know.
a criminal. Right, yeah.
Racist?
Right, yeah, so they had changed the whole story around, so he
Yeah.
kind of got through with it. He was like, this is not even, keep telling you what the
Yeah,
story
because
is.
even as the boy was reading it, he believed what the book said. He tried to tell him, no, that's not right though. He
Right,
said, but it's right here. And he
Right,
told
so
him,
he,
I
I
don't
think he
care if
did
that's
that
not
kind
right.
of, you know, yeah.
But you know, that part, I can understand, what was that even about anyway? Why was that even in the story? This
That's why I
book?
kept saying,
So-
why,
so-
who
It
cares?
had
Why-
nothing to do with nothing.
why do they keep talking about
are you talking
this?
about the book?
Yeah.
So the book did, so this book is about where he grew up, about a story that he actually lived. He finds out that two white guys from Florida were circulating this book.
Yeah, because they said they was related to whoever this book was
Whoever this
about.
book was,
But he
right,
knew they
like the
couldn't be
sheriff.
because they were white.
Well, he
and
was
the guy
related
was
to the
black.
sheriff or something, the
Right,
sheriff
right.
in the story. But it turns out that this book explained, the book was important because that's what was going on with the Rib King. Remember the whole purpose of the tour? He was going around.
Well,
Well,
that's,
no,
yeah,
the reason
killing
for the
people.
tour, because what they did to his town. Because they,
That's why he found out in the book, remember?
yeah, but the book wasn't even talking about that. It
The
was talking
book
about
was.
this guy who was stealing stuff and whatever. he
Right,
did.
but the book, he was angry because the book misrepresented what happened.
But it
Sitwell
didn't
was
say
angry.
that. Yeah, but
because
I'm saying.
He was like, the
still-
story didn't happen like that. Wash wasn't this person. He didn't kick a mule, or he didn't, whatever the case may be, or Cherokee Red. And he was the one responsible because he disputed the lie that his mother told. Remember, the lady was like, give him some cake
right,
or something. And
And then they
he
came, yeah.
and then they
came and
came,
asked him, he told them. It was his
you know,
fault
his
that they-
mother told a lie to save Cherokee Red or whoever,
Right,
the
and
man with the
he-
green
he-
eyes. and he said he told the truth supposedly because he got a slice of cake.
Right.
So this is his story, but they told it wrong. But to him, it was a different perspective. It was a different point of view. They basically told the story about how they came to, you know, burn his land or whatever. But the truth was, like the white man said, that they wanted that land. That's all they wanted. So they came and they burned, you know, burned them out so they would leave, and they took their land.
Right.
And Sidwell was like, you know, it wasn't unprovoked attack. Like the story was saying it was unprovoked. And he was like, this isn't true. This isn't true. So this whole thing triggered him. Apparently that's what happened. So anyway, Pound comes in with these wafers. He's, you know, him and Barclay have this weird relationship. You know, they think that the other's trying to humiliate them. They're not getting along. You know, Pound is tired of Barclay. Barclay is tired of Pound. He just wants this deal to close so he can get his money and get this man out of his life. He hires these people to come in and do a taste test. One of the people was the old head cook, Mr. Bardot.
Well, no, he wasn't a cook. He was a butcher or something.
He was the head cook that mainly got his job because he was drunk. The other guy was the butcher. Whitmore was the butcher.
Ah, okay.
But he was the head cook. Mamie was, you know, the person. But in the meantime, yeah, it's a lot going on. Actually, now that I'm trying to explain everything, it's a lot going on. In the meantime, they were having a party because Pound said his wife's caterer fell through at the last moment, and Barclay was like, "Oh, you can use my sitting room to throw this party." And Mamie and Jenny and Sidwell were like, "How? We don't have no food. Like, what do you want me to cook for these people, for these women?" So they got them drunk with some alcohol. They made this sauce. Sidwell and Mamie put together this sauce, and apparently this sauce was really good. These guys come, they taste the wafers. They tell Pound these wafers taste like dirt. You know, it's the whole thing. That gets him upset, and it's just a back and forth. Anyway, they create this sauce. Everybody loves this sauce. The conflict starts when Barclay Pound, he demands this sauce recipe in order to close the deal with Barclay. Mamie refuses to give him this sauce recipe, but Sidwell gives him the recipe in order to get money so that these guys from the magazine that have come to Barclay's house, there is a lot going on in this book.
That's what I said. This was the most, because it had too many storylines. It really did.
Right.
They got different, you know, everything is just like here and there and there and here. Like she's grabbing this and putting it in. It's like, we didn't need all that.
And she tried to tie it
She
together.
tied it, and at the end, she took her one page, and I
Tie
said,
it
like,
all
what
together,
the
but it was
heck?
too much going on.
It was too
You
much.
didn't find out really why he was so concerned
Until
about
the
what,
end.
till the end, that he was killing these people because he was mad. He was trying to get revenge or
For the people that burned his town.
the town. So he was taking everybody out, but you didn't find out what he was doing or why he was doing till the end. And then you had the boys, and then after it's like, what happened after everybody got burned down? It's like, you know, after he killed everybody, it's like, what happened to the boys? And then finally later you find out, oh, well, they went in different directions, and it was a whole like a mishmash of
It
stuff.
was just too much for me to keep up with this book.
See, I didn't even think that, like, after, so the book, so this happens, all this stuff happens, the sauce, Sidwell, somebody, we don't know it's him until later on, somebody, there's a fire at the Barclay house. That's all we know. That's all we get left with in the beginning. There's a fire at the Barclay house.
And that's not even at the beginning. That's kind of like in the middle.
Well, in the middle, after all this other stuff. And again, I didn't mention everything because like you said, there is
Too much.
so many details that you're right. Like when I was reading it, it was a lot to put together. Now that I'm saying it, I feel like I'm giving more than, like, I'm not even the summary. Like we ain't even gotten halfway through the book.
And you know what I'm saying? It's just too much because it's hard to even keep it all in order. I hate to say it because just too.
Yeah, it's just too many things are going back and forth. And to me, and what aggravated me the most is why are we worrying about this book? What is with this book? Why does he keep talking about this book?
And the book was
but you didn't find out till the end. Because this is why it all came together at the end, but it was like.
Well, he talked about in the beginning, remember when the, before he burnt up everything, remember when the white guys finally came back and Barclay, and they were like, Barclay, did you read the book? Did you read the pamphlet? And he was like, I didn't read it. And he was like, well, we left it for you because this is the land you're buying. Like, this is why we left this for you. And then when Sitwell overheard the two white brothers, see, I'm wondering, were those brothers the ones at the end, that the two John and who he kidnapped?
Farleys?
What,
Oh, the Farleys, yeah.
is that who those two white men were, or no? See, I was
one was
confused
good,
about
one was
that.
good and one was bad.
Right.
Yeah, because one Farley was,
And I
you
forgot,
know,
who was the lady that had them killed? Where did she come from?
Miss
Yeah,
Livingston.
that's what I said. You know, I'm like, how did she, where did she come in? Like, a character that hasn't been in the story at all was the one to shoot, like,
That's what I'm saying. It was
where
just
did, how did that come in?
I don't even know where she, you know, who is she?
I
You
don't
know,
know,
all of a
all of
sudden,
a sudden
she's
comes
there,
at the
she's
end of the
directing and
story.
killing people,
Yeah.
and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna shoot him because we want to shoot the bad
Right.
one. It's, no, it was
It
too
was
much.
too much.
It was
Yeah.
too
So, yeah, so Sidwell overhears these two white guys talking about his Seminole County and the land, and he hears the truth. He hears finally why they burned his land.
Because they wanted the land.
Right,
I don't know,
he
was it
hears the
oil or
truth,
something
or, you know,
underneath,
what-
they wanted to drill and.
Right, the
To get
land was
the-
valuable, they
was
couldn't get
valuable
out,
land.
like, you know, they squatted on this land, or they was
Yeah, 'cause
theirs.
it was back in the swamp, nobody even thought
Right,
about this
right,
land,
right.
but
And
they
they
ran
came
that
in and
to
they was like,
escape, and
oh.
they stayed there for a while.
Right.
Somebody figured out.
How
this
they
is good
cleared,
land.
they cultivate, right,
We
So-
need to get that.
right, so they burnt them out the land, they set fire and burnt them out the land and claimed it for themselves. So Sidwell finally hears, you know, this story of where he grew up and what happened, and, you know, knowing that he was a part of it, knowing that he was the one that betrayed or whatever for some cake, whatever the case may be, which I still don't understand who this man with the green eye, who he was. I still don't
I
understand
don't know.
He was just a man in
who he
book.
was
That's
and
what I'm
why his
saying.
mama lied about seeing the guy with the green eye. I don't understand who he was. That he got exiled because he did something, and then he deserved. I'm confused about who he was.
That's what I'm saying. This book was
Oh, it
extremely
was too-
confusing.
She had too
It
much
was
going on.
Too many characters in this book. And they all had a little sad story of their
Right,
own. And then you
she-
kind of try to weave them together. But she didn't weave them together good, because I was confused as heck reading this book. And by the time I got to the end, she tried to tie it all up with that one page, which didn't make any sense.
Right.
I mean, he get killed by this woman that's living in, like, where the heck she come from? Who is
He
she?
don't get killed. He just gets shot. He doesn't get killed.
Well, we assuming he got killed.
He
but
got shot
I'm
in
just
the leg.
saying,
He got
like,
shot in the
where
leg.
did she come from?
So
Oh, who is she to dictate who gets killed?
That's what I'm saying.
so yeah. So it was so Pound. See, I was confused. Did he die in the fight? He wasn't even there, right? He had went home. Somebody drove him home, right? So he wasn't in the house when he set
You
it
know,
on
I
fire.
don't even know if that's the same dinner party. This was a dinner party that the Barclays were giving. This said, I don't
This
think
wasn't even the
anything
dinner
to
party.
do
This was because Pound brought in the white chef. So
with- Yeah.
after Sidwell agreed to give them the sauce
Right.
because of some incident in the magazine where Bart couldn't get away, he brought a pistol. These men came and found him,
But they was looking for him.
At
They wanted
Barclay
revenge for
House.
that. He decided to pay him off with whatever money he could
which
get,
was
so he wouldn't bother this little boy no more.
so
So that was his.
Sidwell-
Oh, that's right, I forgot
yeah,
about that.
Sidwell, you know, agrees to give Pound, Mr. Pound, this sauce recipe or whatever.
Right, so
And
he
Pound
gives him
says,
money.
Pound says, you know, you're gonna come work for me. I want you to be the image.
He
on-
also wanted him to be his taste tester, because
Right,
he had
right.
this weird sense where you can
Right, you could taste. you could
smell
taste-
stuff and tell you exactly what was in it.
Yeah, then he started
right.
lying about it and said, I'm just lying about what's in there. 'Cause I
Yeah.
don't, you know, he was just telling us and stuff.
But yeah, so
Because he wanted to do another product or something
Right.
else.
And he didn't want to be the taste tester. He
Right.
just wanted
He
to
wanted-
get the money.
he
and
wanted
be
to
done.
go
So
on this
he didn't
tour,
want to do that.
Yeah.
So when he started trying to do something or incorporate or do some other stuff, he was
He
lying
started
about
lying
what
about
he
it. So
Mhm.
Pound or whoever was making this stuff started making bad stuff, because he
Right,
was
people
lying
start
what was
getting
actually in it.
sick, people
Right.
start getting sick and complaining of stomach aches, yeah.
Right. Because he was giving them
After
all
a
the
while.
ingredients.
So
Oh,
Sidwell, as you can see, becomes the image of this rib sauce, of this barbecue sauce, this black man, and he's supposed to be the embodiment of the loyal servant.
mm,
So this black man is on this sauce as the loyal servant, and Barclay gets upset. It was like, no, it's my sauce. They created it in my house, but nobody said that, oh, it's their sauce. So it's kind of like these black servants, these black people that are working for these white people don't have a say in anything. They're like, well, the sauce isn't yours, but instead of saying, oh, Pound is like, I demand this sauce, like this is going to be part of the deal now. Unless you give me this sauce, then we don't have a deal. I'm not buying anything from you. So he kind of backed Barclay into a corner. Maney up and quits after
Yeah,
Sidwell.
whatever happened to Mamie?
Mamie
She
moved to
quit
Florida,
because she
remember?
didn't wanna-
I know she quit, but like,
They never said anything
They
about
did,
her.
she did. Mamie moved to Florida or
But I'm
something.
saying,
but
she
she
wasn't really mentioned until
'Cause she
the lady
moved.
was talking about this sauce and she named it Mamie.
well, yeah, that was some
You mean
some
custom
hair
sauce?
care products or
Face stuff,
something.
yeah.
Some hair care
That
stuff.
was
Yeah,
later
she had a
on.
whole other side story about the girl with the hair care
See, that's what I'm
and
saying, it's
cutie
too
pie.
much.
Yeah, she was
Cutie
trying to.
pie.
She
Yes,
was
okay.
trying to do her hair care talks, and somebody was supposed, who was supposed to give her some money, and they didn't give her the money.
Okay,
No,
so
that was the
okay.
guy who was supposed to be bad or putting her stuff on
Mr.
in the
Mr.
store.
Mr. Holt, I forgot his name.
I
Yeah,
forgot
that was
his
a
name
whole
too,
nother
but-
thing
So,
going on.
yeah, so there's two parts to the book. That's why they're going. So there's two parts to the book. There's before the fire and after the fire. We'll refer to it as that.
Mm.
So all this happens. Sidwell gives the sauce against Mamie's will. Mamie up and quits and leaves. And the next thing you know, we jump 10 years into the future. We jump 10 years into the future, and we're seeing the story from Jenny's point of view. Jenny was the housemaid at the Barclays house. And we don't find out until like 2/3 of the way into Jenny's story exactly what happened. We found out that Sidwell lit the house on fire, and everybody but Jenny died, and the boys, of course, because they weren't in the house. But everybody died that was in the house that day because he set it
Yeah,
on
but
fire.
wait a minute. First of all, he didn't set the fire. Remember?
Oh, he cleared that
people-
up at the end.
Yeah, he did not set the fire.
It was
She thought he did.
it was
but
an
he did
accident.
not. It was an accident. When the people got sick from whatever he served them, they knocked over the candles and the house caught on fire and
Okay,
There
you're
we
right.
go.
He basically poisoned them.
he
Yeah,
was
he was trying to-
poisoning.
he was trying to
He was
kill
just,
He committed a crime.
But he
He
wasn't
just
trying-
didn't do the fire.
Right.
he wasn't trying to kill
was
the
just a-
bar players.
that
They
was a
got
bonus.
killed accidentally because they mixed up the piece of cake he was trying to.
Oh,
Trying to
right,
get the
yeah.
people with the poison.
See, when I
Because
said
Jenny
it was a lot of stories, there's a lot.
It was a lot of
stories.
little details.
No, that's a lot of stories.
No, it was details
No,
and stuff.
That's not. the
Like
detail.
Jenny accidentally
confusing.
used the poison berries to make a cake, and he was trying. See, Sidwell, I thought was ridiculous. Like his whole character, even before we knew he was crazy, is ridiculous because all the stuff he tried to do. He tried to. Why would you pay these men off? Why, like his
But
whole.
he figured that was the only way to do it. I mean, these white men, how
They
you
were
gonna
gonna
stand
take
up
the
against
boys.
them?
They
They're
had
gonna
them, yeah,
take
they
the
had them locked
and
up.
cute
So
that
they
little boy.
got them out.
Probably, I mean, he had to do something, and that's what he felt was the best thing to do. Give him some money,
Right, pay them
go
off.
on about
and
their
okay,
business. And
yeah,
honestly,
you
that's
know,
all they said. Okay, fine. Give him money. They was
Yeah.
okay with that.
I don't know. I just felt like his character, like all his actions that
think
I
he
know he
just
was
tried
trying to
to
be
help.
helpful, but
I
they were
think-
just ridiculous. Like
Well,
ridiculous.
everything
Like he didn't think things through.
No, he just tried. He just
He
did stuff. But
Right, he just.
if it wasn't for him, though, them boys might have been. I mean,
Right.
remember
He
when we got
did,
him
he
out
did,
that
right.
cellar when he
Out the
went
pit.
to? Yeah, I mean, he didn't do that. He'd have been. No big deal, other boy.
Right,
So-
right, because he was locked up. Wasn't he locked up or something?
Yeah,
And
they
he
locked him
got-
up because he had stole some apples.
Right,
years ago
and then when they
messed him
came
up
looking
and-
for him, then I guess he said,
Yeah.
look, I don't want them to get, you know.
No, no, he was trying to take care of the boys. Like he did,
Yeah, he
like
was
up
trying
until
to.
he was crazy, you know, and they turned on him or whatever, or you know.
But one of them still liked him. One of them
Yeah,
still
well,
liked
because
him.
they knew what he was doing, that he was killing
Right,
people, and they didn't
right,
want
right.
no part of that.
But
other
they
boys-
still loved him for taking
They
care
loved
of him.
him, but they just from afar.
Right, right.
Okay,
right.
I
So-
love you, and I appreciate everything you did, but I can't be a part of
But I
this.
don't want to be around
Right.
you.
So back to Jenny. So Jenny is telling the story now. So Jenny owns her own salon. And Jenny's an entrepreneur, and she has invented this solve, Mamie's Gold brand, right?
Yeah,
That's a face cream and some other stuff. It heals some women's ailments that
just down below, it's like a
something-
one cure all thing.
Right,
solve,
right,
She
right?
was
It's
talking
like a
about it.
miracle solve.
Right, right.
So she's trying to get this in stores. She's trying to get Mamie brand in stores. And her friend Aggie,
Yeah,
who's a black tailor who works for this, French tailor, introduces her to some president or guy
Starlight.
from Starlight
Starlight Industries. too.
Industries or something.
Mhm.
So she's thinking, oh, I'm gonna get this meeting, I'm gonna get this. Turns out he only was meeting with her because of her association with the Rib King, Mr. Sidwell. And they kind of boxed her in. When she goes to meet with them, this other dude comes out and was like, yeah, I work for Better Butters or whoever these people are. We bought Better Butters and the deal went wrong or something was going on and
But the Farley brothers own
Another side
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
side
something
story.
something
See what I'm
detailed,
saying?
which was ridiculous
It was-
again.
That's what I'm saying. It was just too much. I don't know if she should have made like 5 books maybe out of this. It's just too much to tell in one
Right.
book.
She
I'm
could've-
telling
she
you,
could've
she
told-
had too many little
She could have
stories
told
about
Jenny's whole
all
story,
these people.
the boy's story, the Sid, what's his name, Sidwell, whatever his name, his story. She just
Sidwell,
had
Jenny,
everybody
I mean,
doing something
That's what
different.
I'm saying. It was just too much.
I mean, I got it. Like I enjoyed the Jenny's part. Like I thought it was interesting. It was, like I said, the ending was very underwhelming and anticlimactic because I was like, who is this new character she just randomly introduced?
I know,
This
it
doesn't
was just
tell-
a bam, bam, boom. Like,
like
what?
she just
I'm waiting
randomly.
for another page because
It's the-
there's gotta be something else to this. That's it.
And so, yeah, so Jenny, and then another side story is the Harpites,
Yeah,
Jenny's
these crazy
husband,
people who walk
Jenny's
around.
husband.
I couldn't tell why they Jehovah's Witnesses or what, because
They
I don't
sound
know.
like, I don't know who, I don't know,
it's like
but
it's some crazy religious type organization.
that.
And they just be standing on, sound like, don't you know?
And Jenny
I'm just saying.
supposedly,
I'm just
right,
saying.
Jenny's supposed husband, who she needed to get this loan for her shop,
Yeah.
is a member of this group.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, those crazy people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
That was
yeah.
another,
And
you
then
know,
he,
story.
yeah, that was a whole nother story.
A
He's
whole nother story.
telling her, don't worry about it. He
But
comes
nothing
by, we
really
gonna sell
came of
something
it.
out your
It's like-
shop and-
I
Yeah,
know.
nothing really came of it. It was just like another story, another dimension.
Another unnecessary story. right?
Jenny
That's-
couldn't
yeah,
get
you know
along
that.
and
But
Jenny
okay.
couldn't get along and she needed a man and Mamie introduced,
Her to this man.
Before she
So they
left
get
and
married,
she
he signs
trusted-
some papers and she gets his money.
and she would pay him every month, you know,
yeah.
whatever, for him to use his name, whatever. That was a whole nother thing and I'm not quite sure why it was incorporated
I
in the
don't either.
story. And then the whole thing with the gangs and Mr. Whitmore
I
in
know.
this club and the violence on the
Yeah, that was a
block.
whole nother
and
thing going
That's what
on
I'm
there.
saying. She could have
So-
had 5 books out of this one book.
Jenny gets roped into becoming, Jenny gets roped into becoming an investigator, a detective, Sherlock Holmes, like she
Yeah.
gets roped into basically being a woman. I'm doing what these white people couldn't do. Now they want Jenny. They just come and, you know, bombard her, bamboozle her basically into trying to find the Rib King in order to get her product in the store. She has to go out and find him and get him to stop touring or whatever he's doing against.
Because they was not only his tours, he was, I guess, he used to get drunk, they say
Yeah, all
peeing
the
on the
articles.
street, I mean, he's
Right,
doing
they
all
said
kind
he
of
was
crazy
really-
stuff. So they feel like he just, bringing our business down, he's acting like crazy fool.
Well, we know
can't
what
have
he was
him so
doing,
big
like,
with us.
we find out ultimately what he was doing, why he was doing those
But nobody,
things.
well, they weren't even mentioning that, all they was talking about the crazy stuff that he was doing in public that was
To
making the
distract,
newspaper.
to
Right.
distract from what was really happening,
Right.
what he
that's
was
what they
really
wanted.
doing.
They wanted him to stop,
Right,
to stop. Just go sit
because
down,
they're
stop the
thinking his
crazy.
worst offense is, like I said, peeing in
Peeing in the
public.
street, right?
They
Well, there's
don't
the
know,
murder.
right, they hadn't tied 2 and 2 together, like, okay, these people, every place that he went, these people are dying and getting poisoned. So he's doing this crazy stuff to distract from what he's really doing.
Right.
So they tasked Jenny, if you want to get Mamie's gold in the stores, you need to put
Talk
an
to your
end.
friend, what they tell
to-
talk to your
And
friend,
Mamie is
stop.
like, I mean, Mamie, and Jenny is like, wait, what the heck? Like, I don't know, like that whole thing, like, how is this one Black woman having access and she's like doing all this stuff? I'm like, this is not realistic. Like, if I was Jenny, I would have told them to, you know, not a nice word themselves. And, you
Don't
know,
worry
it was
about
like,
it.
I'm running, but Jenny got smart. She did. She came back and she said, I'm doing work. I need to get paid. I'm like, she's like, I'm doing y'all job for you for whatever reason. And I need to get compensated for doing all this leg work, running around the city. She basically was being an investigator, you know, a detective and picking up clues. I'm like, because she was, you know, she knew the boys. She knew the Rib King. She knew Whitmore. Because that's a whole other thing with the gangs and them coming to her shop because her husband.
That's what I'm saying, it's just.
Why was that
too
even
much
in
this
there?
book.
Then the lady that she met at the art show and the 2
Well,
shop
that was the
people.
lady who shot the man.
No, that wasn't her.
That was Miss Livingston.
That was not the lady that she
That
met at the art
was.
show. No, that wasn't.
At
Go
the art
with the
show,
book.
Miss Livingston was at
Miss
the art show.
Livingston was Frederick's future mother-in-law.
And she was at the art show.
Right, but that's not the lady
Go
that
with the book.
Mamie, go get it. That wasn't the lady, it should be on the shelf. That
Who was
was
the lady
the,
she met at the art
that
show?
was the lady, Miss, somebody, when they was walking with Aggie downtown to get a dress. And Aggie ran into this lady. Miss Livingston was Frederick's future
No, that's who
mother-in-law.
they ran into because she invited her to the art show,
No.
remember?
It was not Miss Livingston. Miss Livingston just popped out of nowhere.
No, they met her on the street.
That
He
was
introduced-
not Miss Livingston. They
It
met.
was
No,
her.
it was not.
It was.
Miss Livingston was somebody that popped out of nowhere.
No, she didn't pop out of nowhere. He introduced her to it had to be her. And she told her about the art show because he was trying to tell her what everything she did. Like all her little salve or whatever on her face.
Mm-mm.
And she was saying that she needed to come to the art show.
That wasn't Miss Livingston.
Then who was that?
Miss somebody, but that
Okay.
was not Miss Livingston. They didn't meet Miss Livingston until she got to the art show and she walked up to her and Jenny didn't know who she was and Frederick walked away. The lady that she met that came to her shop with her society
Then who
friends,
sold her
was
the
a
ticket to
different-
the art show?
that lady, that society lady that she met. That was not Miss Livingston.
How many society ladies she meet up?
Remember, because they came to her shop, and they were trying to spruce the shop up, and Augie was like, if you get in good with such and such, she can introduce you and, let you meet a whole bunch of people. That was not Miss Livingston.
Who's Layla? Wow.
That's his mother.
That's one of the shop,
Sitwell's, oh no, that was the girl who was pregnant working in the shop.
yeah, and
Oh, okay,
Irene.
okay.
was the
yeah,
other
yeah.
But no, those society
like it.
ladies that came into the shop, that wasn't Miss Livingston. She didn't meet Miss Livingston until the art show.
Who's Miss?
Didn't Miss Livingston and her lady friends come to the shop?
That was not Mrs.
Yeah, well,
Livingston.
yeah, who came to the shop?
Yeah.
Okay, well, who's Mary Jane? Yeah, a bunch of ladies did.
Right,
come to
but
the
that
shop.
wasn't Miss Livingston. That was some other lady, high society lady, some that she met. When they was walking downtown with Aggie.
Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. This book is
There's too much stuff, too many
it is
people.
way too many people in this
I
story.
don't remember her name, but Miss Livingston was somebody that just popped out the blue that we had not been introduced to before then and had nothing to do with this actual story or in like the people, so everybody that Jenny runs into later on was in the Barclay house, Mr. Whitmore, the boys. And then her daughter, Cutie Pie, starts to like, was it Mac? Mac, who's an artist, who she thinks is painting crazy stuff and doesn't understand his art and doesn't want her daughter to be around him or be involved with him because her daughter broke up with her boyfriend Theo, who she thought was good for her.
Because he was a rich white boy. So.
He wasn't white.
He was a rich black boy, but his
Yeah.
father was a doctor, and he was gonna be a doctor or something like that.
So in the meantime, Jenny is trying to run her shop. She's, always away from the shop. She's trying to get a divorce from her husband. She's trying to get Mamie's gold in the store, running around the city. Her and Irene and Lala, her two shop assistants, are trying to keep her business afloat because she thought she was gonna have this money because she thought this deal was gonna go through, but she don't have this money because this deal didn't go through of Mamie's Gold brand. And Irene gets the idea to start selling Mamie's Gold brand door to door, which is the first Mary Kay, like going door to door selling cosmetic products.
Avon.
Avon, Mary Kay,
Yeah,
black
but
people
Mary Kay
did
didn't
it.
go to door to door. They did
Yeah,
parties
they
at
did.
your
Yeah,
house.
they did parties.
Avon was
Avon,
the,
couldn't
ding dong.
Avon calling.
But Jenny was, on her hustle. She was, they was trying to get this money, to run this business, to keep her daughter in school, to keep paying for Cutie Pie school or whatever the case may be. So the second half of the book is basically Jenny trying to find Sitwell, trying to get him to stop doing all this crazy stuff and, cease and desist so that she can, get this deal with Starlight to get Mamie in the store. But ultimately that doesn't happen. So she does find Sitwell, and Sitwell sits down and explains to her what's really going on. Like you said, what really happened with the Barclays. He didn't intentionally set that fire, what he did, and why he's acting crazy in public. And again, it goes full circle with this story in this book that he found out about from Seminole County. And Jenny decides that, she made a lot of money going door to door. Obviously that this guy, Mr. Hubbard, I forgot his name, didn't really want Mamie's gold product. And, you know, he just wanted Jenny because she knew Sitwell.
Well, no,
She had an
it
association
wasn't
with
him, it was
Sitwell.
that other man.
But they
The
never,
better butter.
right,
people,
but they
or
never
whoever.
bought her product. And at the end,
Well, because the other man who owned better butter said, no, we're not gonna do it.
they tried to duplicate her product and failed. And they sold it as something
Unless you
else.
can get rid of Sitwell. But the other man, he wanted to help her, but he really
Yeah,
didn't
I
do
think the one
anything.
that- Yeah, he couldn't, they were kind of,
His hands were
lady-
tied.
the ladies
Because
were Mrs. Nelson, that's the lady that came. to the
Okay,
shop.
yeah,
Is
because
that
I
her?
missed that. They're two different people. Mrs. Livingston was, like I said, she just popped up out of nowhere.
so is Miss Nelson the lady she met on the street, who
Mhm.
sold her ticket to the
Yeah.
shop, to the
Yeah,
show or
yeah,
whatever?
that was.
Yeah, that's her. I couldn't think of her name, but yeah, Miss Livingston is somebody just popped up at the end.
20
Didn't
people.
have nothing to do with the
to the
story.
sh-
And she was the one that shot him at the end.
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
where'd she
Which
come
didn't make no
from?
sense.
Like, where did she come from?
I
Like,
don't know.
out of all the people you told us about, you randomly brought in a character that hasn't had anything to do with the story this whole time. And for what, I didn't understand who she was, and I still don't understand.
Well,
what
I
she
know
was
who
invested
she
in.
was at the end.
Well, you know what I mean,
Her
but-
husband was,
She was
Her
Frederick's
husband was a
future
doctor,
mother-in-law. She
and
was
he was trying
Frederick's.
to open up this clinic for, or not a clinic, but a school to send for Black guys to become doctors. And one of the Farleys, the good one that they did not want killed, was
Oh,
helping
was
them.
giving
He
the
gave them the
money.
money to start this. So that's what she wanted not Barclay, but Sitwell,
To kill the
not
other
to
father.
shoot the wrong one, to shoot the bad one, not the good one, because he the one who's helping
So
them.
confused. They said, what was
So
she
that's what she
invested in?
wanted Jenny to do, talk to him and make sure he don't shoot the good one.
But
But we
how
need
did-
him.
How did she know that Jenny was trying? See, I was,
Everybody seemed to know for some reason. and
but why
some-
weren't they helping her?
I don't know,
If they knew that, why wouldn't they help her? Why
I don't
weren't
know.
they saying?
because the street people knew. Whitmore, whoever, remember, they knew what he was doing.
Oh, yeah, Bart did, Bart,
Yeah,
yeah.
all them knew what he was doing,
But
and they could
nobody
care
told-
less.
Right, okay.
But she just was trying,
It
her
was
goal was
benefiting
just
him.
make sure they don't kill the good. we
It
need
was
the good
benefiting
Farley.
them, like, it was
Alive.
benefiting Whitmore, like, he was profiting or benefiting from all this stuff that was going on, and
Yeah, so it just went crazy.
they were invested in the Rib King doing this stuff for whatever reason, for their own selfish individual reasons.
Yeah,
And, you know, it was blocking Jenny from getting her money.
but what's so crazy is Miss Livingston at the end, like, oh, we knew what he was doing all along. We just been watching him and waiting for him to come. How did you know what he was
That's what
doing?
apparently everybody knew what he was doing.
And
but-
that he was gonna use this escape route and how to get to where, it just, like I said, the story.
As I said, like, she came out of nowhere, and I told you, like, it was far-fetched.
Too much.
It was
And
not only
some of the
far-fetched, it
characters,
didn't make no sense.
some of what they were doing was just ridiculous and outlandish to me.
It
It's like,
was.
in real life, like, if the situation, like, you have to stop and think, would somebody ever even do this?
No.
Like, behave like this,
No.
or,
Look at the color of the sky.
so.
Oh, it is pretty cool. That'd be a pretty picture.
So I don't even know if the whole thing that we just said about it was all muddled. Like, I don't even know if that was coherent. So I hope
It
that
wasn't coherent because the story wasn't coherent.
please comment, like, if you're listening to this and you have, please comment below. We'd love to hear your
You need
comments.
to
If
read
you've
that book.
read this book,
No, I couldn't even read
if
it.
you
It
have
gave me a
comments.
headache by the time I got to the end.
And,
of it.
so
Like, oh my gosh.
ultimately, the story is about, man, I wrote this down. The story is about, because it is, like I said, it's hard to keep it straight. Like, I didn't realize until you said it, how many micro stories, how many, you
And see,
know,
that what got
little
me. I
details
couldn't figure
were
out
in
what
there.
was the main idea of this book? What was her purpose in writing this book? Because she had too much going on. It was just too much. It just kept coming at you like, who is that now? I mean, you know what I mean? It was just stuff. A whole lot of stuff. Hey, a whole lot of information that I think she should have kind of narrowed down some kind of way.
So these
know?
are the themes that I got from this book. One of the themes is entrepreneurship, innovation, because of Jenny. The other theme is, like we talked about, Black people, this using their images without their permission, without them getting compensated for it, because Mamie ended up leaving. Sidwell obviously made money from being an image, but Pound was the one that got rich because this sauce was very popular and it wasn't even his recipe, but Mamie never saw a cent of that money. I don't know how much Sidwell saw, but I mean, that
Well,
goes,
obviously he must have saw why he was able to send the boys to school.
but Mamie didn't,
Well, because Mamie jumped and left.
but
She
it was
didn't wanna
still
do
her
it.
sauce,
Yeah,
but
but
it doesn't matter, she
She
still
didn't want no
decided,
claim to it though.
give me my money.
But she didn't, she just left. What I'm saying, she left and just said, forget about it.
But again, this white man is taking ownership for something that Black people did and not giving them credit for it. He's using Sidwell's
'cause
image
Sidwell
in a
served
derogatory
him.
way. It's like a minstrel show. Like he's saying, oh, this is a loyal servant. That's all he's good for, is being this loyal servant, this Black man, this, caricature of a Black person on this rib sauce, mind you.
Well, but
Um,
see, he made that choice on his own. He didn't have to sell him that recipe.
He signed the paper.
He
but
signed the
he-
paper
he
and get that money. Now, he
signed
could
it
have
'cause
said
he
no,
was-
like maybe he could just left.
He signed it to help
Because
the
Mr.
boys out, but he
Barclay would
couldn't-
have never been able to make it because he didn't know
But
who
he didn't know
how
what
the
was
sauce
in it.
was in it. So
So he went on.
he
in
did
and
that because he wanted the money. So
he
he
needed
got
to-
what he wanted. Good or bad, he made the decision
he
to sell this
signed
man
off.
his sauce.
They didn't have no lawyers to look it up and
Right.
say, look,
Like, here, we're gonna give you this money, you get the sauce.
he
He's like,
signed it, sound
okay,
like a good deal. I'm
because
gonna
I
go ahead
need
and
this
take it.
money.
So, but again, he needed the money for a reason, though. He needed the money,
Well,
so
that's what I'm
white people,
saying.
but no, but I'm saying it goes back to, he needed that money so white people wouldn't kill him or beat him up or whatever the case
Well,
may be
Well,
to
he
the
did
boys.
help them boys
That's what I'm
out too.
saying. He
He
made the deal though.
But in a world where, okay, these white men come to your house and threaten you, no, you don't pay them off. You came to my house and threatened me. I'm not giving you
But it
any
was
money.
1920.
But that's
Yeah.
my point
You
exactly.
just-
He was backed into a
He didn't
corner
have
because
anything.
he
He
was a
couldn't
black
do
man.
that now. So Sheriff could go to the police and say, oh,
Right, he
Right,
said, the
because
best thing I
he
can
has
do
black
is, the
men.
best thing I can do is
Right.
pay
What?
them off.
Like,
If they gonna take the money, I'm gonna give it to them.
But like you
Right.
said, those were his options as a black man during that time.
That's what I'm
Right,
saying. He
right.
made the deal. He could have not made it. Just
Well,
let
he
him
didn't-
take the boy and,
Well, no,
But that's
that
what he
wasn't an option either. But that's what I'm saying. He, as a black man, as a black people during that time
he
where,
made the choice he had to make. That's all.
but
did.
He did what he had to do in
I
order
guess
to
he
save,
did.
in order to save those boys.
Right.
He had to make a choice. He said,
And
I
that's
got
the choice he
either they,
made.
because if I
I'm
don't,
gonna do it.
it's gonna
get
be
the
on
money.
my, I'm gonna feel bad because they got killed.
And
or
like I
whatever
said,
did.
he obviously had money because, like I said, he sent all the boys to school. He obviously wasn't, he was living okay. He was traveling all the world doing these shows and he was making money.
You know,
But it's
he
not
he
about
wasn't making what
the
he
money.
could have been
He
making.
gave, but he was
for
making
him,
something.
It was probably,
Right.
hey, I'm doing okay.
That's
it's
what I'm
not
saying.
about making the money. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I mean, it's about, what I got out of the book is, she said it during this time period for a reason, to show that Black people during this time period, anyway, there's a
Oh, yeah.
system in place, that set of laws, a system in place, unspoken laws, whether it be in neighborhoods, to keep Black people oppressed, to keep Black people, like
It's
you
like
said,
that. It's like that now.
into putting into these choices, like you said. If he was a white man like Barclay, or Pound, he would have never been put in that situation. Why should you have to choose someone's life over? I mean, that's not, no, as a Black man, what other choice but to say, okay, I don't want to get killed or beat up. There's lawlessness. It's like there are laws in place to keep me oppressed. There are laws in place to say, if I don't conform, if I don't abide by what these white men want, I could die with no justice, with no voice, with anything. He said, well, like you said, that boy could have died. Nobody would have thought anything of it.
Yeah.
They would have went on. I mean, I get what you're saying, that, he had to make a choice, but
He had to make the
ultimately,
choice that was available to him at the time because that's the only choice he had.
That's the
And
only
again,
choice he had
So
for
he
those
could not
boys.
do anything else.
and again, that just
So-
speaks to our system in place of systematic
Still
racism, to
doesn't
say.
excuse her for writing a very confusing book because this book
The
was
racism doesn't
confusing.
excuse them for writing the book.
We all know that it was racism. We know it was then,
Yeah,
it is now. But
If
the
it was
book
1920, then it was racism. That was a given.
That's what I'm saying. We already know that.
But I need to think
She
that-
didn't enlighten us on anything. No.
I know.
It was like, we know this is what happens.
I don't think she was alive. I mean, I think she was trying to tell a story.
Well,
Like I said,
she,
any story
I
that
don't
you
care.
tell
Yeah.
about Black people.
It
and,
should have been
you
a
know,
little more,
She should have tightened it up.
Tighten it,
a whole
thank you. Tighten it up
'cause
a little
she was
better
go-
than
She
what
was
she
in
did.
too many different directions.
She was.
Doing too many different things.
It's like
So
she
she-
took all the notes she had for this book and
Right,
just
I'm just
print them on
yeah.
paper like, here's a book, here you go.
So I don't know
It's
if she,
everything I know.
if she needed some filler
That's
if
what
they
I'm
said you
saying.
needed enough, a certain amount of
Yeah.
words, and she started putting some stuff in there, or
Man,
I don't know what happened.
Because every thought you have about a book does not have to go in the book. That's what I'm saying. And that's how this book seemed to be written.
I'm trying to think, this is not her first, it said that she's
No.
on
So she had another book called The Talented Ripkins. And if you notice in the book, they changed or they refer to them as the Ripkins, like Frederick Ripkin
right,
or
the
Mac
boys, the
Ripkin.
boys named the
And they
Ripkins.
say that it was like a nod to her first book, The Talented Ripkins, or,
Right, yeah.
Well,
which I
you
haven't
know,
read, but it sounds interesting.
After
but
this, I don't think I could ever handle another book version.
I thought this was an interesting book because of the themes, like you said, the of Black people being put on labels of things, like we talked about Uncle Ben
really
and
interesting
Jemima.
because that's not anything new. We already know that.
It's not new.
Well, I'm saying we knew that.
I mean, I know, but I mean, it's history. I don't think this book was meant to.
Telling you this, you know what I'm saying? We already knew that.
I don't think that was her intention. You guys are hard on this book. By the way, everyone listening, this was my book pick. So
I'm gonna give it a rate. It was somewhat interesting at first, but after a while, it kind of went off the rails.
It went off the rails. I mean, it was hard.
It was a lot. It was a lot of micro things to, Cutie Pie and her mom and Jenny and the dancer and the entertainer, and that was never.
She too many small little stories.
She told so many details, like small, minute details.
That wasn't necessary.
I think that she thought they were, because I can see how some of the things connected and went full circle, like how she kept all the characters in the Barclays in the story in some kind of way. But then she introduced new people into their lives that, again, I wasn't sure what purpose Jenny's husband served, other than to say she got the loan from him, or why he was even in the story like he was with the Harprites, or however you pronounce it, and
the whole thing with it. She went off on
Mary
a whole
and-
tangent on them.
and screaming in front of the grocery store, and I didn't get the thing about what was going on with his store, why those people were standing out there saying I am who I am, or I'm gonna be who I am.
That's like, man, reel them in, reel it in.
I didn't really understand that or understand their philosophy. So I didn't get beyond saying that Jenny needed this man to apply for a loan, what his purpose was in the story in the first place.
Why did she even have to have that?
Ah.
She needed to land a plane. She was flying around too much.
Yeah, like she was circling the block like I don't know how
It's
many
like-
times.
Like, come on, just park.
And it was making me dizzy. I'm like, what she talking about now? Okay. And it
I
was
thought
like,
it was
and then it was like a crash, boom.
Right, it's like, oh, that's it.
It wasn't even a crash because nothing exciting happened. It was just like,
And then it was just
okay,
all of a
it
sudden
was
out
like
the
a
blue.
sputter, like one of the propellers is going out. We better land the plane.
That's what I'm saying. It just kind of ended.
It's like, oh, we out of
Here.
gas. We better,
Yeah, it
we
did.
better
It
touch
really
down.
just simply ended. Like she just ran out of things to say. Man, that's all I got to say. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The ending just, to me, just didn't make any sense. It's like, no, that's it. We went through all that. I mean, all this rigmarole, all this traveling around, from one side of the country to the next to get to this.
And why all of a sudden, so if they knew what he was doing all this time, why did they pick now to stop him? Like, if you said you knew what he was doing,
I don't know.
why did you pick now to say, oh, we knew? Why didn't you stop him before he went in the tunnel? If you already knew what he was doing, why is this moment, why is this instance different from the other instances when you knew what he was doing?
That's what I just don't know.
And you didn't do anything. Now you choosing to shoot him in the leg, and all you did was shoot him in the leg.
I guess they didn't want to kill him. They just wanted to
So I don't know.
let him know we know.
That's what I'm saying. It's just, yeah.
I don't know, because sometimes I thought it was like a mystery, but I mean, it wasn't really a mystery because everybody knew where Sidwell was. He was on tour.
Right.
And then the whole thing with Bart putting up the posters, and why was that a big deal? Of course, you're gonna put up and advertise, I'm on tour. I want people to come and pay money to see me. So I don't know, like, you guys are making me doubt this book, but I thought the book was.
I was gung ho at first, and
I mean,
She was.
I did like the book. I'm not saying it's not without fault. I'm not saying I wasn't confused and had questions about it. And like you said, what was going on. Like, I still don't understand who Cherokee Red was and why that was important, who this man was. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the book was not without fault. I enjoyed the book regardless of, I kind of kept most of the characters straight. Like, I kind of, kept them straight. Irene, Lala, Augie, who again, beyond introducing her to Mr. Hobart, I don't know why he was still in the story. Same thing with her daughter, and beyond saying she got a daughter, like nothing, they didn't resolve anything. What happened with her and Frederick? They put the painting up in the living room. Like, I didn't get the whole thing with the painting. And Mac, what was the big deal with the painting? Why, you know, just like you said, little
A lot of
micro
stuff.
details that didn't add to the
Not
climax of the story, or could have added to the climax in a better way, like could have made it more dynamic. You know,
once
could have made the ending more
it doesn't really
dynamic.
sound good if you keep talking it out. It's like,
So, okay, so this book, again, read this book. Everything we say is just our opinions. And that's what we're doing. We're just bantering. This book is just our opinion, our thoughts, and our opinions of this book, The Rip King. I think it's worth the read. Like I said, we didn't get into Miss Andrew, you can't see her face, but that's my opinion. I think it's worth the read. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was entertaining. So I think it's worth the read.
If you like a challenging read, this is one for you, because this was like a hard book to read. I kept having to put it down. It was hard for me to get through pages sometimes. It took me a long time to read the book, because I would start reading and I'm like, oh my God. But you know, judge for yourself, read it if you want to, but it's not a good, in my opinion, I didn't like it.
You wouldn't
I
recommend
would
it.
not recommend it, but hey, if you just like to read stuff, go read it.
Miss Andrea.
I would say I wouldn't recommend it. First I thought, like I said, I thought it was kind of interesting. I finished it because I just read fast, but it was not a book that I would not recommend it. As a matter of fact, somebody came in the library and just picked up the book.
No.
I'm like,
Don't do that.
I'm just saying. And you know, if you're just a person like Yvonne said, that just likes to read and is curious about
You like to
this book,
explore, go
right?
ahead.
You want something different, and you may read it and have a completely different opinion about it and say, yeah, I was able to keep up. It was just too much going on there. It's like a mishmash of stuff all together that was thrown together. And so I personally, no.
Like I said, I thought the book sounded interesting. That's why I picked it. And I'm like, oh,
well, it
you know,
did sound.
based
I
on
thought
the
was the
The
things.
title did sound
Yeah,
interesting.
Rip
I'm
King.
thinking they somebody cooking for real.
Yeah, I'm thinking somebody's barbecuing all the time, and he got his own shop or something. I don't know.
Yeah, how he got started, you know, back in the day,
Right. So, but
it
yeah,
just took a all crazy turn somewhere.
right.
I mean, I thought it was a good pick for Black History Month just because of the themes, like, you know, Black, you know, people working in the house with white people, and then everything that happened with the riot, and like you said, you know, people coming to their house and threatening them. So I thought it was a good pick for Black History Month. I'm glad we read
It was a
it.
good try.
Like I said, yeah, I'm glad we read it. And
Because I still don't, I don't know what you get out of it. I mean, just by reading it.
It's
I mean, it's not
entertaining. It was-
inspirational. It's not,
it's just the book.
it's not
I mean,
gonna make you feel any better. I mean, it's just.
not every book has to
Yeah,
be inspirational.
yeah. Well,
It's like-
you know,
That's what I'm saying, but
you just
I
have
like
to
when I
take
get
it
to
for what
read a
it
book,
is.
I like to say, that's a good book. Yeah,
I know, it's like,
that
man,
book.
man,
Yeah,
it was-
let's read that again. But
Like
this
if you
book,
finish, it's like I'm coming
I
to
would
an end because I
never
really
read
like
this
it.
book, never,
And you
never.
want to remember, like, I agree with the ending. Like, the ending was, I can't tell you, like, oh my God, the ending up, you know,
It made no
nothing
sense.
happened. Like, it fell flat.
It did. It was
And
just
I can't
boom,
even
boom,
go back and tell you,
and that
like,
was it.
or, you know, but I didn't dislike the book. And I would say, you know, it's just a book. It's entertainment. It touches on some important themes about, you know, Black people as characters. So if you can read that deep into it, like on the surface,
It's just crazy. Right.
on the surface,
You
but
need
if
another
you
book
can,
on the side to help explain what's going on in this
You
book.
need a concordance.
if you
of
can,
like, what does
how
that
about
mean?
this? If you can read between the
Oh.
lines, how about
I
that?
don't want to read
Then-
the lines when I'm reading a book. I just want to read a book.
You will pick
Yeah,
up.
I don't want to have to think that hard.
When you
will
read
pick
it,
up on
no.
some
Like I
things.
said, when I got done that last page, I swear my head was hurting. I'm like, oh my God, I went through all this and my head was hurting.
So you will pick up on a few things.
And there may be some people that want to do that want to think and want to
I do not
analyze the book as to what it is. Right,
Right.
some people may want to do that, and for
That's why
those who
we're
want to
bantering
analyze the
about
book
it.
and want to dig deep into it and find hidden meanings,
Yeah,
then
you
go
go
ahead and
ahead
read
on.
it. It's good.
To the hidden
Like I
meanings.
said,
I
if
think
you
they
like
were
a
hidden,
challenge,
but-
read it. It'll
Well,
challenge your mind.
I
Go
won't get
ahead.
into everything else, but if you're interested, there are some resources in this presentation about the history and stereotypes of African Americans on products. So this one is about toothpaste, and we all know Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben. The resources are here. This is from Ferris State University. If you're interested, the website is here. The references are here. And these are just some of the images. If you're interested in, doing a little bit of history, if you're reading between the lines, for the Rib King. So please check them out. So March book banter, next month's book banter, we are reading All My Lies Are True by Dorothy Kuhnsen. And this is Andrea's pick for the March book banter. So we will see what is going on. I actually like the book so far. I've started it, and so far it's interesting. So we will see. So yeah, join us next month for All My Lies Are True by Dorothy Kuhnsen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This was a great book banter. And I think that the books we don't like make the most interesting conversations sometimes too, because we all had different, well, you two had the same opinion, but basically.
It was two of us.
That almost turned, you're like, wait a minute, now y'all think.
I know, right? Now you're making me down. Now you're making me down some of the stuff. But that's good, because some of the perspective that you had, until I heard what your thoughts were, I was like, wait a minute, that was, So that's what's really good. And again, we're just bantering. These are just our opinions, our thoughts, based on what we read, and we're just sharing them with you. So take everything we say with a grain of salt. If you disagree with us, if you've read the book and you have some insight that you'd like to share with us about the book, please comment below. Yeah, we'd love to hear it. So, Miss Yvonne, Miss Andrea, anything else you'd like to add?
Nope. See you next time.
See you next month.
All right.
Got that out the way.